Being a chartered manager means that you are a specialist in that area, and it means you've got all the skills to do the job to the best of its ability.
You are seen as a leader, a true leader who has credentials behind the great work you've already been doing.
It's enhanced my understanding, it's enhanced my skill set, it's improved my mindset.
It makes all the difference.
This session is recorded and will be available on the CMI website and YouTube channel. Join the conversation by using the live chat box for your questions and comments. We'll answer as many as we can during the Q&A.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Driving Social Mobility, Leadership Barriers and Opportunities digital event. My name is Amelia, and I'm an Events Delivery Coordinator at CMI. Don't forget to join the conversation by using the live chat box, and feel free to ask any questions you have for the speakers, and I'll answer as many as possible during the Q&A session. I will now hand over to Sean Bingham, board member from CMI Northern Ireland Board, to begin today's event.
Thanks very much, Amelia, and welcome everybody. Today I'm going to walk through a number of slides that will hopefully bring this topic to light for everybody. So, social mobility remains one of the biggest challenges facing organisations and communities today. Leaders and managers play a critical role in breaking down barriers and creating pathways for talented individuals from all backgrounds to succeed. Trained and supportive managers can widen access to opportunity and drive social mobility through inclusive leadership and workplace practices. However, CMI's Better Management Report found that 82% of managers who enter management positions have not had any formal management and leadership training. They are what we call accidental managers. And employees from working class backgrounds report less managerial support and lower workplace inclusivity. This slide here demonstrates some of the outputs of CMI's Walking the Walk report, which surveyed over 500 HR decision makers and 1,000 employees with no management responsibilities. And in it, the report found that employees from lower socio-economic backgrounds are significantly more likely to disagree that their manager proactively encourages them to take up opportunities for learning and development, and that they regularly ask them for feedback, compared to those from a high socio-economic background. They're also significantly more likely to disagree that their manager is good at responding to their suggestions. Employees from lower socio-economic backgrounds were also significantly less likely to agree that workplace inclusivity is high on the agenda for their organisation's board of directors and trustees or other governance bodies, compared to those from intermediate or high socio-economic backgrounds. Only 42% of employees say that their organisation is taking active steps through this recruitment process to increase the proportion of employees from lower socio-economic backgrounds. A final thought from me is a push for formal management training and fostering a culture of continuous learning is needed. Managers who actively seek new perspectives, welcome feedback, and develop inclusive management and leadership skills create environments where talent can thrive regardless of background, improving social mobility and generating positive ripple effects across the organisation. Whilst we couldn't dive into everything today. The CMI team will be circulating this slide deck shortly. It also contains extra detail on CMI's commitment to social mobility, as well as a deep dive into our new suite of qualifications to support managers and leaders. Thank you. Thanks very much for that. I'd like to introduce the other speakers on this webinar, Judith Chilvers and Karen Quinlan, who are going to talk in more depth about bringing social mobility to life.
Thank you very much, Sean. Much appreciated for that intro there. So I'm Judith Chilvers. I'm the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Lead for CMI Northern Ireland Board. And ahead of Social Mobility Day on Thursday, the 11th of June, we're delighted to be joined today by Karen Quinlan, whose journey is a powerful testament to resilience and determination in the face of adversity. And although Karen is not based in Northern Ireland, her story touches on many experiences and challenges that will undoubtedly resonate with our audience here. And I know from looking at some of the comments that we're joined by CMI members from across the country as well. So from overcoming early obstacles and navigating unwritten rules to forging her own path, despite a lack of networks or resources, Karen's backgrounds and achievements offer insights and inspiration that transcend geography. And I'm certain that many of us will see reflections of our own struggles and aspirations in Karen's experiences. So I know that we're having a couple of technical difficulties today, so I'm just going to check that Karen, she's unfortunately not able to be on camera, but hopefully, Karen, can you hear me okay? I'm not sure whether we can maybe hear me. So I think Karen is trying to rejoin us. Karen, can you hear us? Oh, I can hear a little bit of a noise. Karen, is that you? Oh, that's fine. So I think we've got me, but we don't have Karen. So
hello,
we're just waiting.
Back in.
Fabulous. Oh, amazing. That's great. So that's great. I was just giving you a glowing introduction there, Karen. So hopefully you can hear me. And as I mentioned, we've got
I've lost you again.
Yeah, we've got some technical challenges today, but let's dive into some of the questions that we wanted to get through to hopefully sort of understand your journey a little, Karen. So if you can just tell us a little bit about your upbringing and how it influenced your perspective on opportunity and social mobility. I think there's possibly a delay on the line, so we'll maybe wait a minute or two. Good, great, Karen. I think we can hear. We think we've got you back now. No, it doesn't look like it. So I think that we don't have any sound coming in from Karen, but unless you can hear Karen and you can't hear me. You can hear me, but you can't. I'm just looking at some of the comments. You can hear me, but you can't hear Karen. So let's see. Hopefully we can get some, we can get some sound coming through shortly. So while Karen, we'll wait to see if Karen rejoins again, but I think that some of the points that Karen would like to make were around sort of her upbringing and being in a sort of a socioeconomic area that maybe had certain a certain sort of reputation maybe within the area, so, and having to sort of fight against that. So hopefully we'll get Karen back and we'll be able to hear some from her words as well. So I think there's more than one of us have had issues with this, with the sound today. So. So Amelia, I'm just chatting offline to Karen, and I don't think that she's able to rejoin just at this point in time.
Yes, I still think we're having a few issues at the moment. We'll give it another couple of minutes and see where we're at. But hopefully she's able to rejoin us soon.
Oh, we've got Amelia now. Thank you.
No worries.
See you on screen.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've got Karen back. I think she's going to try again. So we'll maybe give it one last go, and then there we go.
Hopefully we can walk in here. Karen, are you there? Okay.
I am here. I'm now sat in the window.
Amazing, lovely. Well, in that case, we'll leave you guys. So me and Sean will remove ourselves from the stage and we'll let you guys continue.
That's great. Thank you so much. So Karen, thank you so much for persevering. So I was just asking if hopefully you can hear me, you can tell us a little bit about your upbringing and how it influenced your perspective on sort of social mobility and opportunities around that.
Yes, certainly. So I was brought up in a proper 2 up, 2 down. And by that, I mean the toilet was down the yard, tin bath in front of the fire. And I thought that was normal. I mean, didn't everybody sell paper boats in their flooded cellar or camp downstairs when there was a storm because the ceiling goes up and down by a foot? When it must have been when my brother was 11 because we were sharing the bedroom, we got moved to what you'd class as a rough council estate. All the occupants there were labelled as like troublemakers. You couldn't be trusted. You'd never come to much. And I also came from a gypsy heritage. So if you want to list the negative labels, I sort of, had a bunch of them. It's no coal mining village. And it's that sort of place that if you did anything wrong, even without everyone having a phone in their house, your mum knew about it before you got home. I'm dyslexic, so at primary school I was labelled as slow, and that really did influence my confidence levels. My dad worked in a cardboard factory, made cardboard boxes, but it did mean I had an endless supply of paper and glue. So it brought out my creative side. I could make anything with cardboard or paper. But he was unfortunately made redundant. He became a caretaker eventually. My mum was a dinner lady. That seriously impacts your love life at secondary school, by the way. I was brought up with my cousins, so that was 7 boys. Meant I could speak to boys easier than girls. I had no idea what girls sort of like were meant to do. But downside of that is the hand-me-down clothes. Boys' clothes is not very good for your image. So I learnt to sew quite early on. But my own creations then made me stand out even more at school. So I was labelled as being a bit odd. And also when I went to work, my clothes were sort of classed as, flamboyant. So I got accused of being sort of overdressed, not knowing what the right dress code was. So obviously that gave me another label of being common. School then, I mean, my secondary school was quite a good school, but I was deemed too bright to learn how to type. Something that I have definitely sort of suffered for the rest of my career because I'm still a 2-finger typer. But after the first 4 years, I'm going to say in those first 4, people really sort of told me, didn't tell me what I could do, didn't tell me what I could be. You just turned up to your lessons. It's only when I did my O-levels and my A-levels, showing my age there, I'm afraid, that I met some teachers that were inspiring and they opened my eyes to what was out there and things that were possible. There were people who could believe in me. Then just at 18, before taking my A-levels, my parents kicked me out over a choice of boyfriend. So being faced with homelessness in a little mining town, I was taken in by my youth leader and his family from the local church. I always thought my home environment was safe, so I was in complete shock at that. Did reconcile, but we've still got a bit of an element of caution between us. When I started my career, my biggest barriers weren't really about the job itself. It's that feeling of not quite belonging and not quite knowing what I should be doing. I didn't have that professional network to lean on, or a clear idea how careers in like this corporate environment worked. I had things like, I didn't know how to write a formal letter. I didn't know how you should speak up in meetings. I had no idea how progression happened. People seemed to move, and it seemed to be a bit of a mystery to me. So these were like unwritten rules that everyone seemed to understand, and I didn't. So that impacted my confidence again. And even if I was doing the right thing, I second-guessed myself more. So it just took me a lot longer to see that I was capable of actually being more and doing more. So those barriers weren't really about lack of ability. They were a lack of exposure, access, confidence. So that's really why I'm passionate now about making those invisible rules visible to others. And it's important about the topic and that we raise awareness to others.
That's really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that insight into those early experiences and the challenges you faced there. So it's clear that your background has shaped your outlook on opportunity and social mobility. And building on that, could you just tell us a bit about how your upbringing influenced your perspective on opportunity?
I think for myself first, because it's best to look inwards before outwards, I made huge assumptions up front about the people I was working with, that they were much more sophisticated than me. I sort of put them on a pedestal, and that does nothing for your confidence. It just makes you feel more like an imposter. I'd say there's a whole range of things, practical things that were a mystery to me when I first started working. Have I been paid the right amount? And what is all this stuff on my payslip? Emergency tax, that means I can't afford the rent this month. What do people do at lunchtime? Do you go out for lunch? Is it seemed common to bring your packed lunch in? Jargon. Oh, still, even these days, jargon. It's a foreign language, isn't it? I have no idea what some of it meant. And when I first started, absolutely culture shock because everyone else was talking in it and I didn't know it. When you're quite young and starting, I didn't know how to deal with those prickly, forceful characters. And I worked with a number of them. Mm-hmm. I had no idea which other people were my grade, so I didn't know who I should be role modeling to. And then there's one that I'm going to say I learnt, as many people do, the hard way, how you should behave on a works night out. And it was messy.
I think that, I think we can potentially all relate to that one. So, but that's really insightful, Karen, as well. So I'm just building on those earlier reflections about the unseen obstacles and that extra mental energy required to overcome them. I suspect many of our audience will relate to that, even if we all haven't really had the words for that until you've sort of articulated it there. With that in mind, then, could you share a little bit more about how you found your way in the professional world without the support of established networks or a clear roadmap?
I think I was a little bit lucky that about 15, I did decide to reinvent myself. I decided to take up drama. Now, I cried all the way through the audition, but with some coaching and some amazing face paint, I opened up a show singing on stage on my own. So that did at least teach me to embrace that fear and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You might also laugh, but even now when I'm presenting, I will still pop on my lippy. It's my comfort blanket. And with that, I was headhunted by the local amateur operatic society, which boosted my confidence. I mean, that was so posh. No one from my estate would have gone to opera. But being from that local social economic background, that sort of taught me I had to sort of hide away a bit, and I used to mirror and match people. So really, I was still acting. And I spent a lot of my first bit of my career acting and pretending to be some of the people who I saw, not myself. I was then lucky that my second manager and his wife became like a surrogate family to me. Joan had also worked her way through the ranks, and she saw potential in me. So they helped me navigate things that I didn't know how to do. And again, it's like if there's courses and it's not on a public transport route, I didn't drive. How did I get there? They also guided me through like house buying and selling, including to the limits of sort of, you know, driving the moving van and unpacking for me. My knives and forks still mirror someone who is left-handed, because that's what Joan was, and that's how she unpacked, and I've never changed it. They taught me how to write CVs, how to prep for interviews. Joan handed me down some of her old suits, so at least I looked the part. And they taught me that a lot of what I could achieve was sort of the hard work, gaining people's trust and credibility. I did realise that was not going to happen in the office where I started out. So I moved towns and reinvented myself once again, I'm afraid. But this time using what I'd learnt. So I was a more confident version of myself. And once I progressed again, as far as I thought I would, then another colleague offered to mentor me. Now, I didn't really know what a mentor was at that point, even though really sort of like my previous line manager and his wife had done that to me. I never saw that as sort of mentoring. But with I'm going to say my new mentor, again, I managed to secure a further promotion.
That's amazing. So it's clear that having that support and guidance then has been instrumental in helping you to progress. And alongside that, I hear a lot of your own bravery in pushing yourself into the unknown. So could you share a moment then when someone's support or inclusive leadership really helped you progress?
I think there was one point when, following a restructure, I was soon to like exit the business. But another team, actually a team I was sat with at that point, was looking for a business analyst. Now, that was not a role I ever thought I could do. I did not think I had any of those business analyst skills. But these people have been watching me and listening to me. And, you know, they got to like my attitude. So one of the team sat down with me with the role profile, explained actually what the job was, rather than, you know, sometimes job adverts are a complete sort of like mystery. And when I looked at it in real terms, we discussed my skills and the work that I'd already been doing. And there was that light bulb moment that I could do 80% of that role. I just didn't understand that that's what the job advert was actually asking of me. So once I understood it, that's it, I applied. And I managed to secure that role, mainly because that team had watched me and they saw my potential.
And that's another reflection that I have as well. So, you know, that you've had significant support from individuals, and then you've also had, by the sounds of it, from what I'm hearing, people who have been willing to sort of look at the skills and sort of observe what you can bring to the role, rather than just, you know, look at a piece of paper and a formal application process. So I find that really interesting to do. So, and that example really shows how support and inclusive leadership helped you realize some of your potential, and is a great example really of the impact such guidance can have. So building on that, I'd like to explore how you think organizations can create similar opportunities for others.
I think organisations can create fairer access to opportunity by removing some of the barriers, rather than assuming there's a level playing field and that it already exists. I mean, some of the things I talked to my team about is not everyone, when maybe they were doing their exams, had a quiet place to study, or had the books, or had that support. So first, recruitment sort of needs to focus on the potential and not the polish. So that sort of reduces bias linked to background. It's sometimes I'm going to say you will find that people from a lower social economic background may be lacking a little bit in confidence. And it's not because they have lacking the ability, it's just they are not sure from the job adverts that they have what they got. They might not have the networks. And it's opening roles up to people who might not present in those traditional ways, but do have strong capability. I mean, people can look at advertising roles in more places, so not just the traditional channels. Using structured interviews instead of gut feel, and making those interviews so they don't feel like someone's trying to catch you out, because that's a rubbish feeling. Let's be honest, we've all been there. Making those expectations clear to all candidates, no matter where they come from, so there's no hidden rules. Designing the processes that work for different needs, so some flexible formats. And that works for people as well with neurodiversity. Again, I'm going to say people with neurodiversity can quite often will not have the same opportunities as others, and quite often come from lower social economic backgrounds. And you have to look to what someone's achieved relative to their starting point. Because not everyone has the same access to education, network, resources. And just understanding that potential might not always show up through the traditional measures, so those grades alone. If people tried to take me on my A-level grades, then I was not showing up as a very good candidate. Second, I'm going to say, when people are in roles, access to development must be transparent and proactive. Quite a lot of opportunities and networks are still informal and sort of pass through different people, the people that know. So it's people who know how to ask. So fairness really for access means clearly advertising developments, offerings, mentorship, support, and in easy terms so people understand them, and actively encouraging people who might not otherwise opt out. And organisations need to invest early and in varied pathways. So early careers programmes, the apprenticeships, reskilling, internal mobility. So progression isn't limited to those who follow just a single traditional route. I've definitely had one of those squiggly careers. And I'm going to say, I think those sometimes need to be promoted, but I'm going to say there's not a traditional straight route. You can go millions of different ways to get to the same end. And evidence from UK social mobility best practices shows that these approaches widen access and strengthen the talent pool's diversity. And let's be honest, culture and leadership matter as much as anything else. Leaders play a really critical part, creating psychologically safe environments, challenging assumptions that can be assumptions of themselves, assumptions of their teams, and assumptions of the individuals. I at the moment am in a conversation with my daughter's boyfriend, who are going to say really won't let you buy him a meal or anything because he doesn't want to be seen as taking anything, whereas I'm just feeding another child. It's quite normal in our house. They just pass through at such great speed. So I'm going to say it's quite interesting because a lot of people from a low social economic background are really, really proud and don't want to ask for help. So as leaders, by making them feel safe and supported, and actually this is a normal thing to do to get a mentor or to go on these courses, can be really important. So people put themselves forward and can grow. And well, that business analyst in me apparently turned out to be quite strong because data. Oh, we love some data. Collecting and analysing social economic background data helps us identify where progression sort of stalls and where sort of intervention is actually needed, just rather than relying on, good intentions and doing this practice. It might not work for everyone or a particular area or group. So getting that data is really important.
That's great, Karen. Such a comprehensive answer there. Thank you so much. A couple of things I just want to call out there was your your reference to neurodiversion, I just noticed in the comment that someone has mentioned that is those journeys can feel quite similar. And as you point out, you can also have be neurodiverse and be from a lower socioeconomic background. So I think that it's interesting to me to see that those paths can sometimes play out in the same way for a colleague, for an employee. So that was interesting. And also your point around culture and leadership as well, and just having a policy is one thing, but actually living and breathing a policy is another thing, and really showing up and making sure that policy is evident in how everybody behaves day to day in the organisation. So there are a couple of reflections that I pulled out from that response there. And just reflecting on your journey there, I think it's clear that your experiences have influenced your understanding of opportunity. So how have your experiences shaped your approach as a mentor and an advocate?
So as a mentor, then I can say, by growing up in a lower social economic background, I am really passionate about giving the next round of people that sort of that gentle sort of lift up, that sort of foot in the door, showing them what's available. So I do understand firsthand what it feels like to navigate those difficult environments where I'm going to say you don't always see people like yourself reflected in leadership. So really important, I'm going to say, as a leader, that I share my story. To also, I'm going to say, as a mentor, show people how to access networks and guidance and that informal knowledge that's not always available. And to understand, I'm going to say, that confidence can be shaped by circumstance rather than capability. So as a mentor, I like to focus on that when I'm working with my team. So I try to create a psychologically safe space. So people feel comfortable asking questions that they might otherwise hold back. I like to demystify those unwritten rules. I'm going to say corporate environments can be, I'm going to say, interesting places. I do remember once, this is in my early career, I was told if I went down to London, I couldn't wear my ponytail because it looked common. I'm glad to say we've moved on a bit from there, but I'm going to say, there's also things I'm going to say that people tell you, and you're there going, I don't know if that's true. So being able to have those open and honest conversations. So sharing my own journey, my own challenges, trying to get it so people don't have to figure it out alone. And like I say, talent isn't enough without self-belief. You have to believe in yourself because that way others will start to believe in you as well. And as an advocate, it shapes what I prioritise and I challenge. It's given me a strong awareness of the structural barriers that can exist. So I actively try and champion social mobility and inclusion, particularly talking to my team, taking part in mentoring programs, talking to local schools. I speak up for equitable access to opportunities, ensuring that processes don't unintentionally favour those with existing networks and advantages. And I try to use my experience to, like I say, raise that awareness of perspectives that might not always be represented in conversations. So sometimes, definitely in those early meetings, I would not speak. I was as quiet as a mouse. I definitely did find my voice. So I do speak up now for, I'm going to say, a different view. And it's not necessarily to say, oh, my view is definitely right, but it's, have you thought of things like this? Have you thought that that process might not favour these people? And it's impacted my leadership style because I do try to be more intentional about lifting others up as I progress, especially as I've got a little bit older. And I'm more aware of the importance of representation and role modelling. I'm more committed to creating environments where everyone has that opportunity to thrive, regardless of their background.
That's amazing, Karen. So I think what resonated with me in your response there was about representation and how that sort of cuts across all types of diversity, equity and inclusion sort of
Absolutely.
So, you know, you got to see it to be it. And I think that leaders like yourselves talking about their experiences and some of their challenges, and also the sort of mental activity that it takes, that other mental load of having to second guess yourself all the time and think, is this the right, am I behaving in the right way? Is this the right time to speak up? Is this the right environment where I can do this or that? I think that's really important for to sort of for us all to put words to, I think, because I'm not sure that I've been in many conversations before where this has been talked about to any great degree.
Certainly not, I was going to say, and as we've mentioned before, it crosses over into so many of our other diversity sort of like pools of talent as well. So people from different ethnic minorities, people with disabilities, our gender awareness and that, all of them tend to have greater representation of low social economic class. So, I mean, it's such an important topic, because then I'm going to say you're widening and you're talking to everybody and you're getting all those different views in.
Absolutely, that's great. So let's move to more sort of practical ways now that leaders can make workplaces more inclusive and more psychologically safe, which is a term I've heard you use a couple of times today.
Yeah, I was going to say it is one of my love words, really, because when people feel safe, then I was going to say they can start being who they really are and stop that sort of, you know, hiding. So as a leader, I like to model vulnerability and curiosity. As we've mentioned, leaders set the tone. So openly admitting mistakes. It's all right to say, I don't know. Ask genuine questions. It signals that learning's valued over perfection and that it's safe for everyone to speak up. I mean, that's just one of the core principles of psychological safety. Challenge assumptions and bias, and challenge them in real time. So inclusive leaders actively pause before jumping to conclusions. And that can be about someone's silence or their style or their capability. And you need to encourage your teams to do the same. There are tools available there on the internet, such as the ladder of inference, that can help leaders reflect on how assumptions form and how they influence behaviour and decision making. And as we sort of just touched on, making participation easier for everyone. So I think your psychological safety increases when people are given multiple and low pressure ways to contribute. So things by sharing agendas in advance can help people who might want to take that little bit more time to reflect or to investigate. Make sure you're building in thinking time. The world's going at such a pace, but thinking time is really important. And being able to use things like chat, written input, follow-ups for those who are less sort of like, you know, comfortable speaking up live and in sort of like meetings. And I found that these approaches have widened participation and they improve the quality of the discussion. You need to actively invite and acknowledge that people are different and there's diverse perspectives. So instead of relying on those confident voices, I'm going to say to be inclusive, you just intentionally invite input from the quieter colleagues, recognise their contributions positively. So by feeling heard, it reinforces that trust and will encourage future participation. And this I found is really important, how you respond when things go wrong, and you need to be constructive. If mistakes are made, we all make mistakes. And rather than, I was going to say, quoting policies at people, being calm, respectful responses, focus on learning rather than blame, and reinforce that it's safe to raise concerns or alternative views I know I've made a number of mistakes, and if someone makes you feel small, it just makes you more scared to actually put yourself out there. Whereas those leaders of mine that are going to say, I've gone, right, so what went wrong? Why did that happen? What can we do different next time? I'm going to say that is just part of growth and learning. You need to create a clear norm about respecting and belonging. So teams function best where the expectations there are explicit, and that respectful challenge is welcome and difference is valued, and inappropriate behaviour is addressed consistently. And by establishing these norms, it helps create a shared environment of accountability and inclusion. And of course, where I'm sort of saying there that difference is valued and people can have their views, the key word is respectful. Everyone needs to be respectful to each other about their views and their differences. And leaders who recognise that colleagues bring different experiences and needs and pressures, and these can be health pressures, caring responsibility, neurodiversity, and they're able to offer a degree of flexibility where possible, that helps colleagues feel supported rather than judged. And again, it's linked to stronger trust and engagement. So I suppose in short, inclusive, psychological, safe workplaces are just built through the everyday leadership behaviours. They're not just one-off initiatives. You have to work at them. You're combining empathy, fairness, and intentional action where people feel safe to contribute fully, and teams tend to perform better as a result.
I think that's really interesting, Karen, because all of the things that you've sort of mentioned there are not extra. It feels like a lot of those are everyday, as you sort of badged it as everyday leadership behaviours, and it's the consistency that brings the benefit to the team and to the workplace. And I think for me, what sort of resonated there and what I'm reflecting on there is that the uplift required by leaders to create this workplace, this inclusive workplace, it's not anything that is going to take huge amounts of effort, huge amounts of time. It's just being intentional about those things and being consistent about those things.
It is. It's having some of those activities and actions at the front of your mind, and challenging yourself as well, taking that time to think and breathe after meetings, especially if things have not quite gone to plan, and just question your own actions and what happened. And if you find that, I'm going to say, something didn't go right, it's fine to go, that didn't go as planned. Can we just have another conversation about this?
Absolutely. So, and just I'm conscious of time and that there are a couple of questions I think in the chat. So I just finally would be interested to know what advice you would give then to someone coming from a similar background and looking to progress in their career.
Feels like I'm going to burst into a song, isn't it? It's not where you start, it's where you finish. No, so don't let your starting point define where you can get to. So if you're coming from a similar background, it's easy to feel like you're a step behind, or that there's just things that other people know. But a lot of the journey is about realizing that those gaps are things that can be learnt, and you're just as capable as anyone else. So just a couple of key things. Be brave, ask questions, even if they feel basic. Most people out there are still figuring it out as well. If you ask questions, you learn faster, and it will help build confidence. Find your people, find a mentor, find a supportive manager or a friend, people who are there to encourage you and guide you, make a big difference. You're not doing this alone. Back to the boyfriend, it's okay for someone to give you a hand. You don't have to do everything yourself. And make yourself visible, not necessarily by shouting the loudest, but by contributing, sharing your ideas, put yourself forward. Sometimes I'm going to say people will hold themselves back, but visibility does matter in progression. And reflect on your skills, things that you're good at. You might not be able to put them in the corporate speak, but I promise you those skills are important. So I can talk to people turned into, I've got great communication skills and stakeholder management. Getting a friend who can actually turn them into corporate speak really does help. and you should back yourself more than you think you should. The confidence won't come first. It's a bit of a fake it till you make it sort of thing. I'm feeling like I'm a whole sort of, list of cliches now. But yeah, put yourself forward for opportunities, even if you don't feel 100% ready. You can learn unwritten rules. You can learn how to influence, how to build relationships. There's, I'm going to say, lots of learning out there. So observe people, ask, learn from them. And stay proud of where you've come from. The background is who you are. It gives you strength, resilience. You can adapt easily. You've got a different perspective that others might not have. And it's not something to hide. It's something to lean into. And finally, give yourself time. These things don't always come quickly and they're not always straightforward. But each time you're building and taking another step forward.
That's amazing, Karen. And I think a couple of things there that I found interesting. Stay proud of where you come from. And, I think that speaks to some of the stuff you said before about acting. And, you still have to be your authentic self. And there is room in the corporate, in a workplace, for your authentic self. So I think that's really something to take away with us as well. But also as well about asking the question. So be brave and ask the question that probably is on everybody else's lips, because in today's workplaces, in today's really fast-paced environments, no one knows all the answers. So if you think that you're going to ask the silly question or the basic question, there's probably 5 other people who are glad that you did. So so that's something that I would that resonates with me. Thank you so much for that. That was amazingly insightful. I think there's some questions in the chat, and I see Sean's joined us again, and I think he's going to sort of field some of those. So if we can push our connections another 10 minutes longer, maybe, and just cross our fingers and toes and hope we get to the end.
Yes. No, thanks. That was a great conversation. I took away some really interesting pieces, and one of the quotes is, "Look at the potential and not the polish," which I think is brilliant, and I'll take that away with me. There are a few questions in the chat. One of them came through and it said, "This is a great discussion, Judith and Karen. My question is, how would you go about rebuilding the confidence of a colleague or a team member who has hit an invisible barrier to progression?"
It is a hard one. It is once someone's confidence has been knocked, because I'm going to say it does take twice as long. It is giving that person, I'm going to say, it's baby steps. Shall we go for another cliche? Don't eat the elephant all at once. So yeah, just give them little things that first they can achieve, and give them praise, and then gradually stretch it more. And again, it's looking at, if they do things wrong, how do you look at that? Are you looking at it as learning, of going, oh right, so that bit didn't go as well, so let's have a look how we can do that, and more or less either mentor them yourself or encourage them to find a mentor. You might do it a little bit first yourself until they've got the confidence, because I find getting a mentor is scary and not knowing whether they're the right person for you. But yeah, little steps, baby steps, every way forward is still a win.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Karen. Another one that's come through is, you've spoken about building a positive and open environment. How do you measure whether people at work truly feel included and supported?
I think some of it you do get a feeling for as to how much people are sharing with you and sharing with members of the team. I tend to find that in that environment, my teams laugh an awful lot more. We have a lot more fun, even when we're under stress. They help each other out. They talk to each other. And I mean, genuinely, when someone's asked you about the weekend, they actually want to know the answer. Rather than it's just something, and by the way, this is what I need. No, they actually really do want to know each other. But you can't beat a bit of feedback. Now, depending on where your team started, if they trust you, you might be able to ask for that feedback open and honestly. Otherwise, you might have to get it collected anonymously to start with. and that will give you some ideas on what to build on.
Great stuff, thank you. This one's not necessarily a question, it's a comment, and I thought it's useful to save this to this point. I've spoken to so many autistic women who have such unbelievably similar experiences and life journeys, mostly late diagnosed. Such inspirational people. Thank you very much for sharing your journey, and I think I'll echo that. It's been really great to hear you sharing your story and showing your successful career path to date and how you're supporting people. So yeah, I found it really, really useful.
Yeah, my daughter's autistic, so yeah, I do get it. So we've just been going through exams. That's been an interesting, stressful time.
That's great. Thank you. I'm not sure. I think that we're out of our. Oh, there's another one that's just popped into the chat. So thanks very much. You're dead popular, Karen.
I like being popular.
Yeah, this is a good one actually. Yes. What happens if you're creating the environment for your team to develop, but the more senior team don't have the same expectation?
Yeah, that is a hard one. I mean, how many of us have come up against barriers further up? There is only so much that you can do at your level. And you have to hope sometimes that the role modelling and how well your team get on and how much your team can deliver by those good intentions and that development will eventually shake a few trees a bit higher up. But myself, I am known to actually go higher up the food chain and voice my opinions in a respectful way, of course. To, you know, if we did this, I think we would see this happen. And you've got to give them a benefit. It's the what's in it for me. But, you know, if we actually spent time letting our colleagues learn how to use Copilot, I think we could get rid of some of these jobs. Or if someone learned how to use Power BI, I'm going all techie now, aren't I? Then that would take away having to do these reports. So sometimes you have to be very tactical about what development you pick to plug to the higher management. Because, of course, we all still do play a game to some degree and we still do act. But yeah, definitely I'm going to say challenge them, but with things, give them little tasters of what they like.
I think for me, it's being that advocate as well. So what you've described there is, you know, being that advocate for your team and creating the environment where you think that you can make the case for it as well, isn't it? So
yeah,
great. Well, we are, I think, about to time there, Sean. What do you think?
I think so. Great. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I think the engagement from the people on the call has been fantastic as well.
Oh, thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you, Karen, for giving us an hour of your time. That's great. Thank you. And we'll hand back to Amelia.
And that is it for today's session. So thank you to Karen, to Judith and to Sean for your insights and expertise. Stay tuned to hear more about CMI membership, and thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you.
Don't forget, as a CMI member, you can find the latest management and leadership insights at managers.org.uk. If you're not yet a member, join our community to discover CMI Confidence with on-demand resources, our network of mentors, and industry-leading accreditations.